Hello and welcome everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ritesh Toshniwal, Head of Marketing at Software AG, and I'm your host for the webinar Strengthening Operational Resilience in Banks. How can banks prepare for operational disruption in 2024? In this webinar, our experts will try to answer the key question of how can banks keep running smoothly in the face of disruptions that typically come to you unprepared. Of course, the principles can be applied to other industries too. So I know some of you are from other industries other than banking. So welcome to the webinar. Joining me are three experts: Karen Bruls, Principal Business Consultant, Software AG; Karen has worked with Rabobank for 20 years in various capacities of business controller, financial reporting, and risk management. Now, Karen is a business consultant with Software AG, and she focuses on ARIS business for risk and compliance management. Karen's topic for today is increasing operational resilience in a bank. We also have Frank Weiss. I hope I pronounced it right, Frank. Senior Director, Business Development, ARIS and Alphabet Software AG. Frank has built a stellar career in the BPM space. He's worked with multiple companies and has been with Software AG for 8 years. Frank will run us through a demo showcase of building a foundation with proven practices, managing your business processes. And last but not the least is Andrei Antipov, Senior Pre-Sales Manager, Business Transformation Software AG. Andrea has more than 25 years of experience. He's worked as a senior enterprise architect with Spurbank, so he definitely understands your challenges and is in second stint with Software AG. Andrea's topic for today is also a demo showcase, but talking about how to manage your IT portfolio. As we move through the webinar, we invite you to submit any questions you have in the Q&A window. In case we do not have time to answer your question, we will get back to you for sure. We'd also highly appreciate if you can share your feedback about the webinar by clicking on the survey tab and answering the questions. It should take less than 2 minutes to fill the survey. With that, it's my pleasure to now hand over to Karen to start her session.
Okay, thank you, Ritesh. And also a warm welcome from my side. Well, let's start with the drivers for operational resilience. Of course, COVID was one of the biggest drivers for operational resilience, but there are multiple current developments that increase the likelihood of another disruptive event. For example, digital transformation. With the digital transformation processes, the way we work and systems in general are changing at high speed, and it's only going to accelerate. Let me give you an example. The employees in the mortgage area at the Rabobank, where I used to work, they have to deal with many process changes every week, and most of them are IT related. And of course, this may lead to new risks. The second, regulatory pressure. Organizations no longer have a choice as whether they want to do something with operational resilience or not. The choice has been taken away. Governments are now involved, and financial services providers in particular have to deal with legislation on operational resilience. The third, increased dependencies and concentrations. We are increasingly interdependent. A disruption somewhere in the chain on the other side of the world can have a major impact. I think you and I have all experienced this, because who can't remember that one ship that blocked the Suez Canal? I Googled it yesterday and I saw it was on March 2021. But it is a long time ago, but I can still remember it because it had a huge impact in Europe. Stock decreased and shops, packages were delayed, supply chains were disrupted. And this example, it really highlights our dependency on each other. But let me give you a very recent example of a disruption that happened just days ago in your region. McDonald's was hit by a system outage that started in the Asia Pacific region and spread real quick to other markets globally. So customers were unable to order at the McDonald's and through electronic platforms. And in the stores, they had to order food with pen and paper. So back to the old times. And imagine what the impact would be if the payment system or an entire data center of a bank goes down. That will affect many, many customers, and for sure it will harm the bank. So whatever the disruption is, a bank must always deliver its critical operations. And one of them for sure is payment services. Well, we think operational resilience is important, but also the major consulting firms are underlining the importance of operational resilience. According to EY, resilience will be the defining characteristic of success. And in a recent report about transforming organizations, McKinsey points out the number one shift is strengthening resilience in businesses. So operational resilience, it really improves organizations. It's not only something you have to do from the regulator, but it also improves your organization. I received this slide from a customer, a Swiss bank. And this bank has to comply with 18 separate regulations related to operational resilience. The reason for that is because they have so many offices all over the world. So wherever you are in the world, if you have an office in Australia, for example, you have to comply with a specific regulation they have there. As you can see on this slide, operational resilience is also a generic term. So worldwide, there are many laws and regulations on this topic. For example, Australia has the CPS 230, and in Europe we have the DORA Act. And DORA focuses more on the digital aspects. On the slide, you see some examples from regulations from the AP regulator. For example, Australia has the CPS 230, and maybe the focus is slightly different, but the goal is the ultimate goal is always the same: strengthen resilience in banks. They may not fall down or go bankrupt. I'm often asked, what's the difference between operational resilience, operational risk management, and business continuity management? Now, operational resilience is the ability of a bank to deliver critical operations, critical services through disruption. So it assumes that severe disruptions, it will happen, and that failure, it will occur. So financial services should do scenario testing to see the impact of these disruptions. But on the other side, operational risk management focuses on reducing the likelihood of operational incidents or disruptions. So risk management tries to keep them out of the bank. So they try that the incident is not going to happen. So operational risks are the threats to operational resilience. With risk management, you try to lower the risk by creating controls, testing controls, and if the controls are effective, you have lowered the risks. With business continuity management, it looks similar to operational resilience, but it's certainly not. Because the goal of business continuity management is to ensure achieving the business goals. So it helps, it makes sure that the bank achieves its goals. So the scope is different. And let me give you an example. Mortgage services, for example, they are definitely in scope of BCM, of business continuity management, because it's part of the goals of the bank. But if the mortgage services is down, it's not going, maybe 1 or 2 days, it's not going to harm the bank immediately, like the payment system is doing if that system is down. So the scope is different. But yeah, on that. I see I'm running out of time, so I need to speed up a little bit. While many organizations have a standalone framework, for example, for operational risk, BCM, disaster recovery, or third-party risk management, this silo approach is no longer sufficient. So maybe the standalone frameworks are effective on its own, but that does not mean you are resilient. You have no idea whether you are resilient when a major disruption occurs. So you still need to do the testing in the standalone pillars, but you also need to do scenario testing for operational resilience. And then you make the connection between multiple disciplines. Okay, I need to speed up a little bit, so I'm going to skip a slide. I go straight away to this slide. Okay, the Hong Kong Monetary Authority released in 2022 new regulations on operational resilience, business continuity planning, and operational risk management. That are the boxes in the top, the first two boxes in the top of the house. And the 5 boxes at the bottom are the key components of the requirements. Well, and have a look at the second box on the left, mapping interconnections and interdependencies. Well, this is where errors and alphabet comes in place. This is where we are good in. You need to identify and document the people, processes, technology, information, and facilities, but also the interconnections and interdependencies among these factors. And in the middle, you see 3 steps. The first one, that are the steps which you need to do. The first one is identify critical operations. Second, set tolerance level. And 3, perform scenario testing. And let me elaborate on this a little bit more using the next slides. First, you start identifying, first you start define your stakeholders, objectives, of course, but then an important part is identify your important business services or critical functions or critical services. It's all the same, but we talk about important business services. And then you set your tolerance, impact tolerance levels. For example, for how many hours is it acceptable for the internet banking system to be down? 1 or 2 minutes, 1 hour, 2 days? So you set your impact tolerances. Then you start the next phase, analyze your operating model. You start mapping your supporting processes to the important business services. And this is a very important part of operational resilience. And then the next step is you start identifying the critical resources. And critical resources can be IT systems, very often IT, but it can also be people, facilities, or information. And a critical resource can be an IT system, but also a call center in India or a third-party IT system. And this is where Alphabet comes in place. Assess health. In this step, you will assess the health of every critical resource you have identified. Here we analyze the resource ability to withstand stress or to recover from a disruption. And for IT systems, of course, Alphabet is perfect for this. And then in the last phase, you start testing against scenarios. You're going to identify a range of extreme yet plausible disruptive scenarios. And these impact the resources required to deliver your impact important business services. And these may include such things as natural disasters, pandemics, social unrest, conflicts, or infrastructure issues, like a flood or a fire or whatever. And of course, you learn and improve from your scenario testing, and everything is supported by monitoring and reporting. Okay, my last slide Sorry, Rita, I took a little bit more time. Why would you do this with Aris and Alphabet? Well, phase 2, the analyzing the operating model, this is the core of Aris and Alphabet. We have capabilities for deep analysis of processes and IT systems. And this is what differentiates us from the rest. And second, to test scenarios, you need the mapping with the processes. If you have already implemented Aris, the critical resources are already in the processes. They are already there, and you don't need to do the exercise all over again. When mapping processes, process mining can give you insights into how processes are actually executed. And this is input for your scenario testing. And last one, you can use Alphabet for a deep dive into your critical IT systems. For example, for assessing the health of an IT system. Okay, I can talk many more hours on this topic, but it's really time to hand over to Frank. Thank you, and Frank, this stage is yours.
Thank you, Karen, and once again, a warm welcome from my side. As you heard about the 3 phases, I think for most of the companies, the identification of the important business services and the description with all the topics underneath is quite complicated. So we have a couple of capabilities like survey management to get the details out of the business, for naming out the criticality and vulnerability of the business services, to get an overview, what is highly critical, what has a high vulnerability. And this information for sure needs to be managed. To get an overview, I've built this dashboard as a solution that is available also for you. And so the dashboard in the end starts with an overall resilience score. So that score will name out in the end how many or how resilient is your system of important business services. And for sure, then you can have a deep dive and see how many of these business services are already resilient, how many of them are still vulnerable, so I have to do something. Well, and what is maybe satisfied, so it is a lower prioritization for me, but I need to focus on the vulnerable services. By the way, how many of these services have what kind of criticality? For sure, maybe I want to filter for the very critical ones. So I can click on them, and you will see also here you can filter, and here down you will then see the details of these critical or very critical business services. Overall, we want to calculate the health of these services. That means if I have a tolerance, like mentioned by Karen, so what is the tolerance of my business service? How long can the service be down until it will really lead to problems impacting the market and not only my business model, but for sure this is also very useful for business continuity management. So you will need this information, just simply need it. This is why we also focus on the resources underneath. That means we have a small overview here on this left side, and we will see over all our resources, what is the recovery time. So we have some healthy resources. They will be up and running within 4 hours. Then one resource that is up and running after 5 to 8 hours. But here are some, naming out 4 of them, that need quite long. And for sure, I need to check what processes are connected, what business services are impacted by these resources, so I can also filter by clicking on that. Let's call it a button. As we focus on resources, we have this tableau here in the middle, this widget, where you get an overview of all the resources and how many business services are impacted by this resource, and also how many processes are connected to this business service. Because sometimes a business services maybe on a higher level. So it's the online banking, for example, at all. But for online banking, we have a couple of variances in all the different countries. So the impact for such a business service will have a couple of processes underneath that we also need to manage, and exactly that information is shown up here. So as named already, not only the IT systems will be a critical resource, but for sure also maybe locations, as we are thinking on a flood or on a fire or any disaster of that kind. Locations can be impacted, and then I need to find a solution. How can I bring these capabilities of these locations back? That can be offices, it can be also data centers, for example, that leads to an impact for a lot of IT systems. The same is with general resources. So sometimes general resources for providing some cash money, for example, we have the cash machines as a critical resource. So if they are not working, I can also not provide cash to the people. That leads also to impact on the society. And also maybe for online banking, if my card readers do not work regularly, then the people will get impacted as they can't do online transactions. So for sure, I also have to secure that these resources, we call it general resources, will work properly, and will support our processes continuously. Complete organizational units can be impacted as they were sitting in locations but are responsible for managing important business services with the processes underneath, and so on and so on. So we bring in the end all this information together that you have documented, but for sure you first need to document them. As we are starting with naming out the important business services, you will see them here in the middle. The business services will have a health that is calculated, and in our dashboard you have the chance to see some details on that. So the name of this business service, is it really an important business service? Is it active or not? And what is the health of this business service? What is the reason? How do we come to this healthness score? There's a calculation behind. So there's some intelligence in the dashboard that will help you to see if this service is healthy or if it is poor, depending on the impact tolerance my service has. For example, 2 days, and that time we are calculating some scores, and just for control you can see all the scores that were calculated here in detail. But nevertheless, you have for sure the chance to also see the details in the model where you have to bring the information in. So clicking on such a business service, the dashboard will lead you to the description of this business service. So you will see who is responsible for that service. Are there some additional information for that service? And for sure you will find the description and the really, really relevant BCM properties. So it is a business service, an important one. What is the criticality, the vulnerability, the impact time tolerance? And for sure to name the impact tolerance, you need to understand what is the impact of that of an outage or if the service is down. And for sure, is there maybe a seasonality consideration behind? So does it depend on some time in the year, on some special events that the service is more critical? Then for sure that has also an impact on the vulnerability and criticality of the process. Then for the different impact time horizons, we can say, okay, what happens after 48 hours? What is the impact on our customers? What is the impact on the financial stability, safety and soundness, and for sure the market integrity? Then in the end is the requirement of the process that leads to a special view on the resources that are underneath. And those resources will also be described in detail. And therefore, we have a model in the end where you get an overview of the important business service, the connected processes, the connected locations, the general resources, the IT systems, and so on, and for sure also the data that is needed to provide that service. So you have the chance to go for some details, and fill up what is the criticality of that data, for example. What is the data security level, and how long do we need to recover this objective? And in the end, every single resource here offers you the possibility to care for that information, even if it is internal or external. That for sure has an impact on the measures you will set up to bring the service back. And if it is an internal service, you maybe have more possibilities. And to make it as easy as possible, you can use the contribute mode to directly care for this information here in that view. So you do not need to model this information. You can just easily maintain them on that easy view here. So after you have described these attributes for all the single resources that are supporting, for sure, in the third phase, if you remember, we were talking about the scenario. And for sure, we are offering a possibility called bow tie diagram to describe what can be the scenarios that impact you, like the data center is going down due to energy loss, or just for maintenance, or due to loss, due to fire. And if we have already measures in place, that will help to prevent for these scenario impacts. What is the impact? What will happen? And for sure, what is the consequence if such a service is down? And do we have something in our hand to cover the outage of the service so that the core system is maybe unavailable? And that information will help you to define your scenario testing in a later stage. But going back to the description here and the different impact types, I spoke about, or we often spoke about, digitalization and the impact of IT systems, as this is in a digital age maybe one of the most important points. We need a lot of information about these IT systems, and as you can see here, we have a lot of information. Sure that the business not always has this information, so we depending on IT, we are depending on planning on some system that can manage all these different information. So our part as the business maybe is to say how critical is that system for me, and what is the recovery time objective. And then in our dashboard, we are just simply calculating the recovery time objective against the impact time we can tolerate for our business services. And that in the end will exactly lead to our resilience score. And coming back to the IT systems and all the informations like what organizational units are impacted, what processes are impacted by that system, and so on and so on, we need more information. And this is exactly the point where Alphabet comes into the game. And this is where I now hand over to my beloved colleague, Andre.
Thank you, Frank, for such a perfect handover. This does indeed shows the tight relationship between the different products we offer. Let me start by sharing my screen. So yes, with Alphabet, with Aris focusing on the business side of things, on the business operational side of things. With Alphabet, we go deeper into the technical and even infrastructure level details. So Alphabet, as some of you might know, is about architecture management and integrated portfolio management. So it is all about simplifying the things, the complex things, putting them into the context that someone requires, that the user requires. So explaining the resilience topic, I want to focus on two personas. One of them is the technical architect, and I will start with him, and we will then go to the business owner who is interested in figuring out what are the possible troubles for the context of his or her responsibility. So first, the bottom-up approach. Let's say I'm a technical architect who is responsible for managing technologies that we are using, that we are relying on in our operations. For this, I will go into the alphabet area, which where we manage our components. So each component is basically let's say it's a software package which can be acquired from some external supplier, or maybe it is developed in-house. And this software package is being used to run certain applications that are in turn supporting critical business operations. So we, at this point, are looking at each technology as a twofold entity. So on one hand side, we are providing a business support. On the other hand, it is a source of possible trouble. So to contain the trouble, we need to know our technologies, and we are setting up a governance framework for that. And you can see already some parts of this governance framework, like say each item in this list is a technology that we're managing. You can see that more than 1,000 of them are already in my repository. We know the current state of the technology. We know the life cycle of the technology, but probably we know the vendor. For my purposes, I will require some other attributes like the IT capability. So what is the capability that this technology is providing? Like maybe the architect, so the responsibility perspective. So who is responsible for a certain technology? Then maybe standard classification. So is this technology free for use, or is limited for use in my organization? So bringing these extra points into this view will greatly expand the profile of a technology for a technical architect. So let me play a role of an architect who is responsible for operating system space. So I am in charge of managing the operating systems technology. Right? So this reduces down my list to 29 items. Well, it's already quite observable. So before I go on, I need to explain. So it is all about managing the complex relationships, top down and bottom up. So each technology, and I will just now drill down, navigate to a certain technology, in this case, let's say Microsoft Windows 10. Each technology is in turn serving as a required component to run certain applications. So in this view, you can see that my technology, Microsoft Windows 10, is used to support multiple applications. So there's quite a long list of applications with their life cycles. This can also be expanded to a business footprint of a technology. This is exactly where your interdependencies are being uncovered. So my Windows, let me scroll down. So my Microsoft Windows 10, via applications which it comes as a part of, impacting multiple organizations, multiple businesses, multiple business units, my capabilities, processes, and so on. So that is exactly how we trace the dependency from the technology and even from the infrastructure level to the level of services and operations that are reliant on a certain technology. So this needs, obviously, requires an effort in maintaining. So, but I am, as a technology architect, I am providing the fundamentals, the required baseline for that. So going back to the components list. So let's say I'm focusing on, as I said, on operating systems. As a result, another governance perspective, very important governance perspective, is the life cycle of my technology. So we must be aware of in this case, the vendor maintenance window. So when this technology is safe for usage, as the vendor is still supporting it, so that's the life cycle date. We know we can have our own internal governance, which can differ from the active period of the vendor. We can appoint, due to our internal policy, certain technology as free for use, or maybe we can limit the usage for some reasons that can come from even financial perspective, so that we are maybe limiting usage of a certain vendor to discontinue the contract payments, and we are transitioning maybe to a similar technology which is free for use. Um, so multiple different governance perspectives combined give us the overall complex picture. So let's say at the moment I've done quite some effort in narrowing down my focus to only the components that are important for me, and I will just quickly demonstrate the capabilities of Alphabet in saving this view for future use, so that every time I log into the system, I come exactly to this. So I will create. First, I will maybe visualize this view as a donut chart, which gives me, I'll show my legend, which gives me the standardization categorization. So it's, I know that some parts of my operational systems are free for use, some are not classified, some are not permitted. So that is my governance perspective, which I would like to save as a standard report. I will just add this to my content repository, calling it Andre components. Okay. And for the future use, I will create a page, which will shall I call my components. Sorry for the typo. And include the newly created view to the page. Sorry. Add content. Andre components. Update. So there you go. I have a starting page, which is called My Components, which will focus on what is important to me, giving me the governance perspective on what I manage. So this obviously comes once you are able to maintain the technology data, once you're able to maintain the dependencies via applications to the operations that are reliant on this technology. This obviously pays off immediately, given the luxury of business questions, small use cases that are pre-configured in Alphabet, and I will just give you a couple of quick examples. So, from the governance perspective, what is our standards catalog? So this business question would give you. Let me bring up Legend. This business question will demonstrate you the technologies together with their classification. So the green ones are free for use, red are not permitted, and the size of the block will give you an indication of how much this technology is being used in your landscape. So this immediately gives you an idea of the not permitted technology still being used, causing potential trouble to your operations. Another one, which directly relates to the life cycle perspective of your technology. So what is our technical debt? This analysis will let you focus on the applications that are reliant on already outdated technology. Another relevant example could be the even deeper technical details, how will IT failure impact our business? And in this case, we are coming exactly, and I'm showing my filter panel. I'm filtering here for a certain business capability, like a customer service, and the system Alphabet brings the impact graph. So I am presented with the data. Let me bring up the legend once again. I'm presented with the impacts that applications and even the infrastructure entities, like my virtual servers, my locations, like my data centers, the operations have on my operations. So I trace down the dependencies from the business layer down to the infrastructure layer. So this obviously comes with a cost. So it requires an effort, quite a considerable effort, to maintain such a component library in a good shape. And for this, we provide you with an ability to import the clean and pre-verified vendor product data from our partner, from a service which our partner provides. It's called ITpedia. I do not have to maintain all my technologies by hand. I can import them from an external source, in this case, import from ITpedia. I will just need to specify, say, a vendor, submit my request, and I will be presented with the components that are provided, with technologies that are provided by this manufacturer. In this case, I see multiple Adobe products. It can be a huge list. I will obviously need to narrow down my search to focus on what is important to me. So that's one. It's option one. Option two, you can bring these items, these technology components from your operational IT systems, like from CMDB systems, like maybe ServiceNow is quite a good example. So if these components are already managed there, we can bring them in. And then we will always come at the trouble of normalizing this list. So obviously this is quite an error-prone activity. Once you can easily come at the point where multiple duplicates of a certain technology created, like in this case, in my case, like Microsoft Windows 10, I have 2 instances of it. They were created by different architects. They have even different life cycles. This is something that will gradually reduce the analysis capabilities and the quality of my analysis. So this needs to be tackled. This needs to be solved. Again, the ITpedia comes to help. What we do is we will push our components list to ITpedia for cleaning. So the ITpedia comes with an engine which provides normalization of my component library. And as a result of such a normalization, I will have an ability to merge duplicate components. And by merging, I will reassign all the relationships that each of those merged individual components had in the beginning, so to have the consistent picture in the end. And I will conclude, just one more minute. I know that I'm almost out of my time, but one more minute. I will now put myself in the shoes of a business manager, of someone who is responsible for a certain area of business. And with this, I will be using another business question of ours, like road mapping. What is our application landscape? So in this view, we are presented with one perspective comes from the business. It's a capability model consisting of our business domains. Those could be processes, and this report relates applications to the capabilities which these applications are supporting. So these A items are applications, and these bars are capabilities which have hierarchical structure. So let's say I am business manager who is responsible for a certain product. In this case, it is represented by an application group which is called, let's say, customer relationship management. So customer relationship management is a service which includes multiple applications. So this reduces down the list of apps only relevant to a certain business service. I also am interested in only active and running applications. And then my primary focus of current topic, technical obsolescence of these apps. So I will explain it in a second. And I will also display another KPI, which is called threats. So by submitting this, I will get the resilience resilience-related analysis of the area of my responsibility. So I'm responsible for a business service which includes, which relies on the operations of multiple applications coming from different business domains. So the color of this, the coloring of the application, in this case, gives me a list of indicates the applications which rely on outdated technology. That is a point of possible failure. And an icon indicates that there are technical threats assigned to this app. So this gives me another dimension. I can bring in different indicators, like indicating number of incidents, or maybe indicating number of risks that are maintained related to this application. So in the end, a reliable view on how on all the technical related problems surfaced to the business context. And with this, I will, sorry for have taken too long. For this, I would like to conclude my demo. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Andre. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Karen, Frank, and Andre for the great insights. For the audience, if you'd like to continue exploring today's topic, then you can visit our website. You can download some of the analyst reports, the white papers, the ebooks, as well as you can sign up for a free trial of Aris as well as Alphabet. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us with any questions. There's a button which you'll see all over the website said contact us, and you can write from there. We'll make sure we'll get back to you, and we love hearing from you. So please write to us. Now it's time for some Q&A. I see a couple of questions in the Q&A window, but for others who are here, if you have any questions, kindly put it now. Okay, there's one question for Karen Yu. Thanks for your presentation, quite insightful. My question is related to the 3 phases of operational resilience you showed. Do I have to start all over again with each new regulation? So for your customer who had to implement 18 regulations, did they go through this 18 times?
Thank you for the question. I saw it in the chat and I thought that's a really nice question. Well, thank God you don't have to go through it every time when there comes a new regulation. So Aris and Alphabet, we are a generic platform. So if you identify your important business services and do the mapping, you only have to do it once. And if there comes a new regulation on operational resilience, the only thing you need to do is to check if there are any additional requirements. So if you have already, the platform is already there, the basics, and you can use it for every regulation. And I think that's the good thing about Aris and Alphabet. We don't focus pure on the CPS 230 or on DORA. No, it's for all operational resilience regulations.
So it's incremental and nothing from scratch every time.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you, Karen. There's one more question. I guess this is for Andre. I'll read it out. We have a diverse technology landscape, and maintaining the details will require a lot of effort, and then even more effort to update. Any support here?
Yeah, this is a concern that we hear quite a lot. I did mention that there could be multiple sources of the technology data, like the operational IT systems where you manage your components. You obviously can do it, can maintain them manually if it requires a lot of governance, if you are heavily focused on the technical policy realization. But thanks to the partnership with Eurocent, with the ITpedia, their ITpedia product that I introduced here, we also have the ability to do the automated landscape discovery. So there is a certain product which scans your infrastructure and software landscape and comes up with the list of components which are then being normalized via that ITpedia engine and are imported into Alphabet as individual technologies that come cleaned and with reliable vendor-related data. So that there are multiple ways to avoid a lot of not required work here.
Cool. So looks like your Alphabet is built for efficiency.
Yep, it is.
Thank you,
you.
Andre. Thank you very much. I think that brings us to the end of the webinar. I would request all the audience to please fill up this survey and give us your feedback so that we can double down on what we are doing good today and we can improve wherever there are gaps. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. And if you have any more questions, please reach out to us. I want to thank the speakers again for your time today and for sharing great insights. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.